We're going to look at the top 10 trending rookies from week 6. We're going to look at their numbers. We're going to look at their fantasy production, the advanced metrics, and everything else to see whether or not you need to buy, sell, pick up off waivers, whatever you need to do with these players in the upcoming future, and how you can leverage these players on your fantasy rosters right now. But what you need to do is click that subscribe button with your finger on your phone, tap it with your mouse, whatever you got to do to get the job done. Every week we go over the rookies. Every week we go hot on the waiver wire, harder than anybody else on YouTube. Every week we help you set your lineups and we help you get the trades done as well, and we cover the advanced metrics and everything else. Click that button, stop missing out, and let's get it started. Zay Flowers led all rookies in fantasy points last week with 17.1. He was the wide receiver 14, so he was a wide receiver 2 last week. He saw 8 targets and a 27.6% target share. That's an elite target share. If you're pushing 30%, above 25%, that's a solid target share. That is top tier. That's what we're seeing from him. He's running a lot of routes. He's getting some opportunities here, and we're seeing the target share bump up a little bit into that top tier role. That's something you like out of your rookie wide receivers. He scored 17.1 fantasy points, caught 6 balls for 50 yards, was in on 89% of the snaps. He was in a matchup here where it was a pass funnel because the Titans are tough against the run and teams like to throw on them because of that. And we saw that this week as we saw some volume going to Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers has been steady. Look at the fantasy production down here in the bottom left. Week 1, 17. Week 2, 10. Week 3, 13. Got you 8 points and 4. That was the low game. But 13 and 5. 12 and 5. Actually, 17 and 6. So he's been getting you double-digit fantasy point production on the regular. You can't ask for more than that as a rookie. He's not blowing the doors off, but he's getting you top-tier wide receiver 2 production week in and week out. Sometimes it's a little bit lower, but again, you can't ask for more than that because you got him almost double-digit rounds, and he's a rookie, and he's doing some things in a lower volume passing offense that we like. Now we're looking at C.J. Stroud, second in fantasy scoring among rookies last week, week 6, and he was in a tough matchup against the Saints because they're tough against the pass. 54.2% of his balls were catchable. 58% of his dropbacks had a clean pocket and only dropped back 30 times. They ran the ball a little bit more in this game, and it was a slower paced game, lower scoring game. His ADOT was a little bit lower than usual at 8.7. Usually his 9.5 range is usually where he's at from week to week. QB 12 on the week still. Still a QB1. Still a quarterback you wanted in fantasy. Only 11 other quarterbacks scored more than him. So he's a QB1 for the week and looked good. And depending on where you're playing with these quarterbacks, the PPR production is going to be a little bit different due to scoring settings. But it's lower level QB1 production here on 235 attempted air yards. We're not slinging it downfield in this matchup. We got some tough corners. We got Lattimore there. He got it done in a matchup like this, and they still won 20-13. What more can you ask for? Now we're looking at Josh Downs. We talk about him every week on the waiver wire. Every week on the waiver wire shows, I mentioned him a few times. Wide receiver 30 last week, so he was like a wide receiver 3. And that makes sense, considering he's a wide receiver 2 with a backup quarterback. Not a top-tier level offense when it comes to passing volume, but still saw 8 targets in this contest at 15.4% target share. Ran 49 routes. He must have been exhausted in that game because he got a lot of opportunity, ran a lot in the slot, 90%. Not many air yards. He gets the short targets. We need him to get volume, and we need him to get yak because he's not going deep too often, and we should expect that from his collegiate profile. That's why we look at those. We know he's going to be in the slot a lot. We know he's going to be running those short to intermediate routes. Some games he gets about 80 air yards, but a lot of times he's hovering around 40 to 50. This is about his range, but that pairs well with Gardner Minshew. But still, he's been consistent over these last couple weeks. Week 5, he scored 15.7 fantasy points, had an off day against the Rams, and then against the Ravens in Week 3, 13.7 fantasy points. So he has been consistent, which is good for a rookie wide receiver who's pegged to be in the slot in a lower volume offense, who gets in some shootouts sometimes where they got to throw the ball, meshes well with Gardner Minshew. On waivers still in a lot of leagues. We keep telling you to pick him up. We're going to keep doing so. until he's rostered a little bit more. A good get in Dynasty too on the cheap, but imagine the value is hard to connect with in trades. Now we're looking at Bijan Robinson, and he is 4th in scoring among rookies this week. 13 fantasy points, RB18 is an RB2 this week, and the production's there. He's at least getting double digits every week. He has not hit single digits yet. So on those lower level games, those low scoring matchups against the Commanders, 24-16, we really needed turnovers to break free in this game. We needed some ugliness from one side to the other for this game to break. It did not happen, but he's used in the passing game a lot. He's taken an 18.2% target share. He got a bigger target share than Josh Downs, and he ran 40 routes. That is a ton for a running back. That is massive for a running back. You love Bijan Robinson. We all know that. Some people paid the 101 overall. You're not getting 101 overall production, but when you look at him as a rookie, you think about him in Dynasty, you're feeling good about him because he's getting used. He's getting opportunity. He's running a ton of routes. He's getting used in the passing game. He's getting rushing attempts. He had 13 rushing attempts in this game. You can't really ask for more. He's going to have some boom weeks because he's getting a lot of workload, and there's going to be some matchups that allow him to hit that upside. Now we're looking at Bryce Young, and you know what? 12.7 fantasy points ain't that great. QB 16 on the week, but also to look at this, he's 2 points away from being a QB1. That's how onesie positions work, where you start just one. 2 QB leagues, a little bit different. Really depends on your roster construction from there. 72.7% of his passes were catchable. He was in a game where it was a shootout. It was full court press the whole time. 319 attempted air yards, 42 dropbacks, had a clean pocket to work from. Really, the Dolphins got ahead, and the Panthers just had to sling it. And that's just how it was. When you see the Dolphins in a matchup, look at the quarterback. If that quarterback's on waivers and you need a quarterback, you may want to go after that because the Dolphins are going to push the pace so much that they're going to elevate the production of that quarterback in that matchup. You may want to look at that. 12.7 fantasy points, not grandiose, but in the grand scheme of things, considering what we're seeing from Bryce Young, okay for the week. Obviously, we want to see him develop more. We want to see more out of him. But again, one of the better weeks from him from a pure fantasy football perspective. Looking at Michael Mayer, first time talking about him in the series this year. Got 12.5 fantasy points, the tight end 5 for the week. He saw 6 targets in this game and ran 22 routes. Did not have a 66% target share. That got mixed in with the route participation rate of 66.7%. But saw 49 air yards. The thing about him that we're looking at here is a snap share, and it's been going up 51%, 66%, and then 81% this week. He's getting more opportunities. A lot of people are looking at him off waivers. He's a guy that you want to play the matchups with for right now. He's a rookie. Rookies take time to develop, especially at the tight end position. Usually second-round rookies don't hit. Sam Laporta is a unicorn right now. But Michael Mayer is a guy you just want to pay attention to, be patient with. There's upside here. There's talent here. The targets are going to flow more to Devontae Adams because he's been chirping in the media. We also got Jacoby Myers. But Mayer's running a little hot right now. The trends are looking good. If you got him in Dynasty, you're feeling a little bit better. Redraft-wise, tight ends, you play the matchups with. You see what happens. He might be a guy you want to play matchups with here for the rest of the season. Now we're looking at Jordan Addison, 11.8 PPR fantasy points. People were expecting more with Justin Jefferson out. The one thing I see is 100% route participation rate. He was running routes on every single play out there, and that increased his opportunity, his workload, but only saw 5 targets. But look down there. Look at the matchup. What do we say about the Bears? They make everything weird. They make everything almost impossible to predict. That's the Bears. That's what we're looking at. So give him a few more weeks in this offense without Justin Jefferson. Another thing that we're predicting here is they're going to slow the pace down a little bit because when you line up at the line of scrimmage, you look to your right, Jefferson lined up there, and you can tell you got a wide receiver who's going to be instantly open 90% of the time. And the thing about that allows you to click a little faster because you have that insurance policy when you're running that play. You don't have that anymore, so things got to be set right. Things have to be schemed more correctly and more in depth. Thing about this, though, Jordan Addison getting more workload. We see that in the route participation rate. That should run right for us over time in fantasy. Should be seeing a better target share. TJ Hawkinson got some work in this. Hawk did some work. That's something to look at as well. But again, Addison is still on the come up when you look deeper into the stats. Now we're looking at Rashod Rice, still sitting on waivers, wide receiver 34 for the week. And we're in the back half of this top 10 list in production. 11.2 PPR fantasy points. But when you're pulling a wide receiver off waivers, you kind of expect that production. You want that production because you're really flirting with 10, 11 points or 0. And he's being kind of steady as we're seeing a wide receiver who's productive off and on throughout the season. And that's good enough for a waiver wire wide receiver. Wide receiver 34 for the week. Pretty solid. 4 targets, 10.3% target share. He's heavily involved compared to other wide receivers in the offense. That's good to see. Running a good bit of routes, but not tremendous. 50%. 17 air yards, though. He's getting a lot of short targets as they like to whip the ball out fast. Again, it was against the Broncos. Ugly matchup, ugly game script. It did not get pushed either. So that's another thing you want to look at as well. We're going to get some more fire matchups as they're in the AFC West. So Rashod Rice is going to get some more opportunity throughout the season. Now we're looking at Britton Strange. He scored his first touchdown of his career, caught a few balls, allowed him to score 10.7 PPR fantasy points. A rookie tight end that we're just paying attention to. He's more year 2, year 3, as Trevor Lawrence can really pepper the rock everywhere. Ran 10 routes in this game. That's an indicator that you need to keep him on waivers, even though you saw him score double-digit fantasy points. Now we're looking at Michael Wilson as our 10th player. 9.2 PPR fantasy points. Numbers aren't too great as he was the wide receiver 42. 10.5% target share. 89.1 route participation rate. Kyler Murray's coming back. Wilson should be getting more opportunity later in the season. They're 1-5 now. They should let the rookie rumble, but he is in on almost 90% of the routes. He's getting more opportunity. Usually it's around 75 to 80. 90% of the routes is on the upswing, which means we're seeing him get more opportunity. We're seeing him get more snaps here. He ran 88 snaps, second most on the season, compared to week 1 was his highest. So that's something to look at too. He's getting more workload. It's not just the production, it's the work rate. So he's on waivers. He's a guy you can play matchups with, but you're not going to feel good about it every week because 1, it's the Cardinals. 2, he's a rookie. And 3, he's developing. We got some quarterbacks switching around and everything else. But those are the rookies from week 6. Let me know which ones you're going after in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. Catch you on the next video.